what I would like to do today is I would like to draw, just in the beginning, a comparison between the UK and our European peers, because we do work all over Europe and we are quite well placed to have a cross-section of requirements, tendencies, strategies in the market and things that go on in the rest of Europe. So whilst the UK is probably leading in putting money into research and development, and the level is significantly above than compared to the rest of Europe, but still below the US. We, for instance, find the highest number of science parks compared to the rest of Europe. No country in Europe has that many science parks. Yeah? And as well, the commercialization of research and development is, in our view, in the UK, much more advanced than in Europe. I just recently read in a paper that in Baden-Württemberg, one of the leading high-tech counties in Germany, there's a patent being filed for every 42 minutes. But it's no good if the patent doesn't make it into commercialization. It's not good if the patent is not being used by somebody who can do something with it. And this is a particular benefit in the UK, that the infrastructure seems to be there, the market seems to be very efficient in commercialization of R&D. So this whole environment, even if it is not there yet, even if there's still not enough money going into this market, it encourages investment, yeah, both public and private investment. Now, when we look at this market, and I'm now talking about the laboratory market, not the aerospace market so much, not the software market, I'm now talking about the laboratory market, we definitely see a trend from big pharma to small companies. The big pharmaceutical companies are sourcing out. They are realizing that their huge R&D departments are not creative enough anymore, are not efficient anymore in order to reduce the cycles and reduce the cost of R&D as well. Therefore, we have a tendency to find contract research. There's a lot of small companies around that do contract research. A lot of universities taking up contract research as well. And all these small companies now all of a sudden need laboratory space. Very capable small entities, obviously they want to work in high quality environments as well. And this poses a problem because they don't have money. They have a cash flow, a contracted cash flow, but they have usually no upfront investment capital. We also see a tendency of money going back into the biotech marketplace. That's definitely true. A problem in the UK is the economy of boom and bust. We seem to ride the boom as long as possible, and then we have a recession as we have now. The next boom is certain. The question is when and how big. But this is, looking back through years and years and years, seems to be the economic cycle in the UK, boom and bust, which is a problem for investors, because a more steady approach would be definitely better in gaining the estimated or calculated returns. Now, obviously, this created the demand for instant reconfigurability of the research space, because what we do now may not be required tomorrow. And we come across this theme again and again as we go along in the presentation. Also, the request for life cycle management comes up more and more and more. The owner of the laboratory, be it a big pharmaceutical or a public entity, has the need to manage these facilities. It gets more and more complex. It is not the case anymore that we refurbish a laboratory or build a new laboratory and this space will be good for the next 15 to 20 years. It's simply not true anymore. Green initiatives become more and more important. There's a lot of things going on in the UK. In our view, also the UK leading the rest of Europe. Green initiatives in the rest of Europe are just starting, particularly in the laboratory area, are just starting to develop. Obviously, in some other areas like power and consumption, other countries are much better than the UK, but in terms of building and having a green laboratory, the UK is definitely leading. It's quite interesting. Now, all of these points create uncertainty. We simply don't know anymore what our facility will need, what our facility will require in 5 or 10 years' time. And uncertainty obviously translates into risk, and this is a problem. A problem for the investor, a problem for the people who run the facility. Because we are faced with the demand for flexibility to change the space again and again and again. Lab reconfiguration is a problem. Services is a problem. I spoke to a lady this morning, and she told me that they are moving into a new laboratory. It's not a new laboratory, it's an existing laboratory, but they bring all sorts of different equipment with them. They need to do what they are supposed to do. Now, equipment nowadays needs all sorts of different gases, purity in different levels, all sorts of different services at the point of use. Now, how do we bring in these services cost effectively? How do we bring in these services fast? This is a big question. So it's not only about furniture anymore, it's not only about fume cupboards, it is about how can we adopt a given space quick, fast, and efficiently, cost effectively. So we want to run this facility without new money, ideally, which is a problem. And clients confront us with the idea of having even the building work and everything in one hand. Yeah? So the one-stop shop becomes more and more attractive because of the complexity, and a lot of laboratory owners, building managers are not able to perform this task anymore. So the problem is long-term budgets, long-term use and short-term budgets, and obviously the risk factor attached with that. Now the next slide is trivial, because every investor's objective is to maximize the return of their investment, to protect their investment, and to minimize risk. Everybody knows that. The solution is not trivial. Absolutely not. Because we are talking about brick and mortar, we are talking about high capital cost, and most of us have a boss who will finally ask, where's my return? Where's the return you promised me at some stage back in the development? Yeah.